And good morning, everyone. It's 15 minutes after 9 o'clock on this Tuesday. Happy Veterans Day to all of our vets that are out there watching right now. I know we have several that have been on the blog over the years, probably watching right now as well. Hope you guys are doing well. I'm Wave Meteorologist Brian Good. Welcome to SnowTALK. Did you enjoy a flurry Mageddon yesterday? Some had measurable snow, some spots more than others, which is a little interesting, as I'll show you in a second. Good morning to Tina. Hello to Sean. Hope all is well. ZK's here. Carrie, were you first? Yep, you were first today. I had a feeling. You've got it nailed down, Pat, Carrie. You know what's up. Hi, Jason. Hope all is well. Angie, you found some snow in Gatlinburg and higher elevations. I was looking at the cameras in Gatlinburg earlier this morning. I was looking at the Sky Bridge part, where you walk across the bridge part, and I was looking to see if I could see any, but it wasn't, at least from that vantage point, I didn't see anything. But there probably was a little bit. All right, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to go through the snowboard, and we're going to dive right into a busy look at the rest of the extended outlook. Let's get right into the snowboard. And this is a first, maybe not a first. I take that back. I don't know myself too well. But it's not often that I do a very long-term hint to you all. But the signal is pretty outstanding to ignore right now. I mean, a lot could still change. Yeah, you know, asterisks, read the fine print, blah, blah, blah. But having said that, it's hard to argue when you get a lot of arrows pointing in a certain direction. And that direction is toward Thanksgiving week, especially, that we get back into a very much a wintry setup that looks like it's on a rinse and repeat ordeal that will kick off the majority of the long term. So I don't normally go that far out on the snowboard, but hey, it is what is it 2 weeks out now? It's for almost 2 weeks, right? At least the Thanksgiving week, so that's fair. So I guess maybe not too much of a stretch. We'll see. Mount Leonte is covered. Ooh, all right. Thanks, Angie. I bet that's pretty. Beverly, we're going to have a big snow. Well, we don't know yet. It's not on the board yet. Not on the board yet, but hang tight. In fact, yesterday in Louisville, we did record a trace of snow officially into the books. That puts us at the 10th of November. Last year, if you look, and this is just the first reports of trace we've had in the last decade. Last year was early, nearly a month early in October. But although that was a little odd, it was kind of like a sleet grapple combo, not true Arctic air like we have with this one. So if I were to put that in perspective, it would have been about the same time in November. So I would say the past 2 years probably nearly matched. There is 1 year missing. I did put 1906 in as the earliest we've had, early October. 1 year is missing there, and I'll go ahead and tell you because we don't have all day. But 2021 is not on there. It's, at least in the last decade, no measurable, not even a trace of snow all the way through New Year's. Well, yeah, that was the record low year. Do you remember that? It was the top 10 least snowiest winters on record. What happened in 2015? Yeah, 2015 was late. Yeah, it was late. But, notice, there's not really a good signal you can really pick from that. And I like to identify patterns. I'm really big on patterns and repeating cycles. And that's a lot of forecasting in that alone. And some of these El Nino years, I don't know why I got an accent. Some are El Nino years, some are La Nina. And I think that's likely where you're getting a little more of the shifts earlier versus later. All right. We did see 0.6 in Bowling Green. In fact, I believe that's the same amount as Milwaukee, Wisconsin, as their first snow too, that they picked up. And identical with Bowling Green. Pretty wild. Lexington, under a half inch at 0.3. Ohio, let's see, Cincinnati was a little over 2 inches. Dayton was at 3.5 to almost 4. Indianapolis, a little over an inch and a half. Eastern Kentucky, there's quite a few spots that are under the 1 inch mark, close to 1 inch actually on the 71 corridor. But Ohio, I think, got the gold star, which is not surprising. That's kind of what we were expecting to win on the higher totals would be Ohio, but Ohio always wins. It always wins. Let's see. Official total. Yeah, Adam. Yeah, it was just the trace at the airport. I didn't see that much at my house as well. I think we actually have more in the weather garden. If for a while there, we did turn everything white in the weather garden, and I made the big mistake. I forgot to put our snowboard out. It's out now. It's out now. But I forgot. My bad. I'm working on it. But I don't think it would have been anything to measure anyway. It would have to do probably a water equivalent kind of deal. And I'm not a big fan of those. It's kind of like fake measuring of snow. I hate that. Technically it's used, but still, I like the stuff you see right there, and it stays there. It stays there all day. Doesn't melt away in 2 seconds. I like that. Okay, cloudy sky. Oh, it's back. We had a clear sky last night. Coldest in Louisville that we dropped to last night is 27. And the coldest in Kentucky I was able to find was 12.5, which I think they've rounded that to 13. But either way, Eastern Kentucky with a wind chill of 2 below 0 this morning. We had a few spots in the teens, a couple 19s and around Tell City, not far from Meade County, also in Indiana. So not too bad. Okay, so the clouds are moving back in. Well, this is interesting because this is the leading edge of a push of warmer air that is leading to some of these clouds. We're up to 30 right now in Louisville. We're getting there, baby steps. Several 30s actually showing up. Columbia is showing off at the freezing mark. 28 is yet toward Salem at the moment. Okay, here's a view of the radar. Oh, look at there. Snow is falling, and it indeed is above our head. But getting to the ground level, a little tougher because there's so much dry air because of yesterday's Arctic air that it's trying its best to snow, but just not enough moisture is getting squeezed out of this. So I'm not going to roll out a flake or two, or even if it waits too long as this wave heads eastbound, it'll become more of a raindrop issue instead of a flake. But anyway, minor. But the angle of it's important. You got to look at it as like a wall, basically, of energy that is heading eastbound, going from the I-55 area and heading east toward I-75 and I-71 corridor. Behind that wave, though, is where we start to see the wind really begin to ramp up. So the wind begins to build as soon as that little wave passes by. So If we time that out, we're likely about, 3 hours, 3, maybe 4 from that getting to the other side of 65. And at that point, we should see the wind begin to ramp up along the west of the interstate fairly soon, especially when we get back into a partly cloudy sky, which we will as we head into this afternoon. Current gusts, you can see right in behind the wave, already between 20 and around 30 miles per hour. They're kind of cheating a little bit higher elevation, but you get the idea. The Ozarks. But it will be breezy as this moves on by. So even though we're looking at 40s today, with the wind, it's not going to feel like it. It's going to feel like 35 to 38 all afternoon. So you'll need the winter coat all day and all night tonight. Tomorrow, maybe a lighter coat or a jacket. You may be able to ease it. Let me show you future cast. It's pretty boring future cast. There's not a whole lot of excitement here. Wind is wind's wind. So the wind blows in today. We get in the 40s. We do have a slight drop this evening before we reverse things and actually climb tomorrow morning. That sets a stage for us to get in the upper 50s, perhaps lower 60s, and overachieve a little in Louisville. But a pleasant day tomorrow. Tomorrow will be windy as well, but not as strong of a wind as today will feature, and will be 20 degrees added to the actually 10 to 15. I don't want to say 20, 10 to 15 degrees added into the mix on numbers too. So the wind chill will not be as relevant as it will be today. So tomorrow really will feel better. Thursday, we get the warmer air, but without the wind. So Thursday's the day I think we'll all be like, oh, okay, it doesn't feel too bad out. And certainly about Friday and Saturday, you're really going to see that, because at that point, we're talking about 70 to 75 for highs as we approach the weekend. Weather whiplash. Gotta love it this time of year. All right, so quiet, right? No problems with future cast there. Any questions on the short term? I know everyone's all about long term, so I'm here though to help you out in case. Would you say, Aaron? Gosh, just think, Aaron could be your new snow ambassador. I said November 29th. You'll love me. Just so you guys know, Aaron is a troublemaker. He causes a lot of drama on this. No, I'm just kidding. Aaron, you know I love you. He picks on me a lot, but I'm used to being picked on, so I can handle it. He's secretly a snow lover in a big way, actually. He just doesn't want to type and admit it, but that's all right. That's all right. Let's see. Wait a minute. Adam, what'd you say? You've had your fill of snow? Oh, cold. Okay. Gotcha. Okay. Well, I don't know. Some people like the snow for the shopping part of the season. I don't mind that either. I think it's festive, but I think it's more, your light snows, flurries, maybe a low-end winter weather advisory of like an inch or two. It's not bad, right? That's not bad. That's festive. We may be into that territory. Remember, though, the discussion for the winter forecast, last year, we ended up with snow on Thanksgiving, and it was cold and snowy for the first 2 weeks of December. It wasn't anything big, but it was just persistent. It was a lot of Arctic air, so you really didn't have a lot of moisture added into the mix, so you could only get lighter snows. It wouldn't surprise me. This is going to be a similar setup. So I don't really see anything big right now. I think this is going to be a lot of little things, but it will be a snow globe-y kind of pattern, the way it's looking. Okay, so where do we go with the longer terms? Let's dive into it. We've got this weekend 70s are coming into play, looking good on Saturday. Sunday, this trough tries to dig. It tries really hard, but it's such a sharp angle. It's not a really good angle to get a lot of moisture to come in from the Gulf to give you a lot of showers and thunderstorms to develop in advance of it. We could still get some. There are hints of that still on a lot of the global models for late Saturday night and Sunday. They still try to fire some rain, maybe some thunderstorms, but it is going to be a battle. I think what's more significant is not really this wave. So if that holds true, then we really are going to be flying under the radar here for a while through at least Sunday. Once we get past Sunday, well, things get a little messy. And at that point, we're going to start having different types of low pressure being thrown at us. And they're all a little different. The GFS, Euro, Canadian, they're all a little different about how many waves will come off the Rockies and be thrown at us. First one that is at least showing up in a decent way, it looks to be that Monday. So almost a week from today, early next week, that will move through. That one just looks like general rain. The Canadian is colder. with rain to snow already with that one. I don't think that really fits the narrative right now, but I do think we need to watch each one of these as they roll out. And sometimes the models can't see a count very well. It can see that energy is coming off the Rockies, but sometimes it makes the mistake on how many pieces get thrown out, because sometimes some of that holds back into the west, doesn't roll all the way into the front range. And sometimes it all just flows out, and we end up with a very messy setup with several areas of low pressure and constant rain in many cases. So there's a lot of questions on how many will be impacting us, but we know that at least next week we'll be more active on the storm track compared to what we've got for the rest of this week. Basically, the rubber band was pulled really far, and it snapped back, and it's snapping back in the coming days. Because of that, the atmosphere is trying to balance back out again, and it's doing that as we get into next week, but only to have it stretch again, and then we're going to just keep repeating this over and over. So here we go, a week from today. Low pressure number 1 moves through. It's the next one, though. The next one, 20th through the 22nd, may end up being the 21st, right in the middle, but it's in that window that we have a larger, what we call mid-latitude cyclone that emerges from the Gulf. The signal for this, pretty strong, has been for a long time for this particular time of the month here for November. As it looks on paper, which makes sense because we're not likely to have Arctic air ahead of it. So we're likely going to have warmer air in advance of it. So we got to deal with the warm side of the system first. And that is going to lead to gusty winds, rain, thunderstorms. Could we be looking at severe? We'll look at that here in a second. And then we'll deal with the backlash of what this system will end up doing. This will be the catalyst to how things really kind of play out as we evolve into Thanksgiving week. Looking at severe already. Well, CSU, this is the machine learning module. Hold on one second. There we go. Already hinting Monday. Now, notice if you've been paying attention, it was hinting at Saturday and Sunday. I think even had something on there for a while, but it's the wave that comes through this weekend that I said that looks kind of, it's not coming in at a good angle to scoop up a lot of moisture. Well, because of that angle, that severe signal from Colorado State is dried up. It's not there anymore, but it's certainly there for Monday. And the analogs match this nearly same spot too. So I do think it's worth watching for the series of low pressures that move in. Will this Monday one be the main one? Probably not. I think it's just sniffing out that this lead wave for that week may have some stronger storms with it, but what we really want to look at is what happens after that. But unfortunately, that is not within range. So I don't know. I will say, we got wavy. New Hope, Indiana. Some snowflakes reported there. All right. Well, that's good to know. Again, because I guess some of those are making it down to the ground level. All right. We'll see how many more reports we get. And don't you guys just start sending in team reports either. Just to get triggered on here. I'm watching you all. All right. So here's what's interesting. This CSF, did I say it right now? CFS. Sorry, I'm dyslexic. CFS model for November. The severe signal does go up. I know this is a complicated chart to look at, so I'm not going to get into the weeds on it. Just know that it's a little bit lighter blue, and there's a bit of a, the chart that kind of goes up and down here. There's a bit of a bump upward during next week. But there are also some noisy signals there into mid-December. So that doesn't necessarily mean yet that I'm talking about severe weather coming into our area. It just means we're going to have stronger storm systems that'll be crossing the lower 48 that will have some severe weather component to it. So that leads the question then to what about the other side of it? Where are we going to be? So that's seeing step one, is just seeing the storm systems and the storm track. And it does look a little noisy. Nothing too excessive yet, but in the cold season, that's not unusual. You don't normally get a strong signal far out. You only get little hints of it coming into play. But as we evolve into the polar vortex, our friend, the polar vortex, here is what's interesting. I'm going to leave this full screen because I want to explain this. You're looking at, of course, the globe from the bald spot, as I say, top down. We're over here in the lower 48. Polar vortex is going to be found where you get these darker purples. And as we evolve into the 21st, that is centered more so in the Aleutian Islands into Alaska. and also into parts of Russia and Siberia, parts of it. But notice what is happening around Greenland and Canada. This is the opposite. This is a high pressure dome that is located in the eastern part of Canada. That is going to warm up Canada. This is the Greenland block that is going to be at play. What will end up happening, because again, the atmosphere you got to look at it as almost like a river itself pouring, whether it's water down a waterfall itself and seeing how it goes around all the individual rocks. It's the same idea. The atmosphere works in the same way. You just don't see it, obviously. We just know the air is there because of the wind. But when you look at this, it works the same way as fluid. So we know this pocket right here of cold air, the polar piece of it anyway, the polar vortex, is likely going to snake around, slide into southern Canada, and then dive once again right into the eastern United States. At the same time, this high being here and blocking into eastern Canada near Greenland is going to allow the cold air to also flow in from the northeast and feed right into the trough in the eastern United States. So all the signals are all lining up here for the end of November for another shot of cold Arctic air to invade into the eastern United States. So that is where we're getting into the signal for a colder Thanksgiving week. And it's not just this particular model. The ensembles are showing it of the model, as well as other models themselves. Now, what is interesting is that the Euro, yesterday, you can't go run to run on this. So I really want to see what the midday run today has and the coming runs down the road, obviously. But yesterday, it was the opposite. It did not have the block in the right spot. It already had a lot of issues to begin with on how it was configured, but it had a lot of warmth in the eastern United States. And I'm sure some folks jumped on that, like, yeah, that's going to be warm. This is a completely different run this morning of what we had yesterday. Completely different. I mean, the difference is, 70s versus 30s kind of deal. So this is the reason why we've got to just keep an eye on the signals we're looking at and let the models kind of just settle down. It'll take some time for them to lock this in, but the players are on the field. The Greenland block is being supported by other factors, not just the Euro. And we know that the cold air is going to easily dive in as long as it has a storm system to ride along with, and it should, based on the storm track noise that I showed you being active with the signals that are coming in. We should have the carrier to grab a hold of this and pull it around the blocking high into Canada. So everything's going to slow down, but when you get slower motion of the jet stream, you get more extreme events. And that's what we'll be facing as we head into November. I don't know yet which part of Thanksgiving week this would impact, or if it'd be delayed. Sometimes the models see this, but the atmosphere takes a little bit of time to react to the signal. It can sometimes be pushed into early December. This could repeat itself again, like we've seen already, where we're pulling the rubber band and it snaps back. It could keep doing that all the way through Christmas. I think it's got a limit for some period of time, but it may continue several more times down the road. But the warm spells that happen will be less dramatic as we move further along, and the cold attacks will be more dramatic. So you end up with a worsening of the impacts as you go along with that idea versus having it in November. It's bad enough. I mean, this is it may not have seemed like it. I know a lot of you are like, oh, it's cold. And it's not unusual. It's been cold before November. Yesterday's cold anomaly was exceptional. It was not anything of the norm. In fact, the differences in pressure or temperature that we had in the Ohio Valley all the way down to Florida yesterday was the most extreme temperature change you had on the planet. Yesterday was happening here in DeWave country down to Florida. So it was remarkable. And if it were to have been January, you know how that storyline probably would have went. It wouldn't have been all about snow, that's for sure. It would have been cold, very cold and dry. So it's hard to get, again, very cold air without taking away the snow aspect of it. So you got to be right on the Goldilocks zone, right on the edge of that. In this case, if we were to have had a lot more moisture at play with the recent cold snap, it would have been Florida again that would have won with a snowstorm. Wouldn't that have been great? That would have been so cool. No, probably not for them. I probably would have been thrilled. We got some from Florida watching, so I probably shouldn't say too much. Hey, CK, why doesn't it snow when these cold vortices that come through? I hope I explained it. It's just the cold air holds less moisture than warm air. So If you want a big snow, you've got to have warm air involved somewhere in the equation. And the problem with us being this close to the Gulf is that, we get that. We can get the warmer flow, but sometimes it overwhelms the atmosphere and we end up with rain. Or it goes snow to rain, then ends back as snow, and everyone's all upset because you only get like an inch out of that at best. Or you get very cold Arctic air and it's dry as can be, and Atlanta, Georgia, and Tampa are digging out from a blizzard or something wild like that. So you've got to be where you've got enough warm air for moisture, but also have enough cold air for it to be in frozen form. And that is not easy to do. We're always on the fence here on that one. So there's good and bad about this. This pattern screams, to be honest, cold and dry. You may get a system that goes rain to snow, but to get anything bigger than that, you've got to have another storm system that is right on its heels to get right involved. You can't have any delay. And if there's a delay, like we have this week, we've got a big delay before we get a system. In fact, the closest one we have will be dropping in from the north on Sunday. We don't get a southern or southwestern piece until early next week. And by that point, we've already warmed back up. We're back in the 70s. So you've got to have them spaced out in a tight fashion to allow for more excitement for snow lovers. I'm just saying how you're gonna get it if you want it. All right, and a lot of you don't want all that. I get it, but at the same time, if it's gonna be that cold, where everything is just frozen up everywhere and we're all miserable anyway, it might as well snow. Might as well. It's my opinion. Not a reflection of wave. In my opinion. Good morning. Hi, Kay. Hope all is well. Hi, Statue. Oh, you like the tie? Thank you. Appreciate that. You're in Campbellsville. Tell everyone in Campbellsville, Tina, I said hello. Prelude. Weather service out of Chicago. What was that? Power outage. Shelby County. 92 customers. Let's see. Chicago. They thought they'd be measuring snow in feet. Well, that's a problem. You know what? We had our issues. We have our issues here, but I tell you what, you don't want to deal with lake effect snow. That is just a slight little change in that wind. My professor at Western was from Buffalo, and I had to hear all the stories all through my college years of what he had to deal with. And just a slight little change of the wind. It's incredible. It's pretty wild and fascinating, to be honest. But if this pattern keeps up, the lakes are going to freeze over sooner rather than later. And if that's the case, then, lake effect snow is over earlier than normal. So that could be interesting for the Great Lakes. Right now, they're not frozen over, but they will be if this keeps up. Okay, let me show you the matrix. Into the long term we go. All right. As always, this is all the different ensemble members. And I know it's hard to read, but you want to see where the lines start or change color, especially that gives you a sign of a new system. And once they are tagged with a snow amount, they hold on to that snow amount for the rest of the timeline from left to right. So a lot of them have got the early still snow involved. I think once we get into later this week, we'll be able to erase the current last 24-hour type setup that will reset these lines a little easier so we can see the ones coming up down the road. So I think it'll get easier. But there's a signal certainly that's showing up. If I can, my pen is not cooperating. There we go. As we head into Thanksgiving week, there is a surge upward, and there is one, if not two, that are showing up in mid-December or in mid-December there. So it's still a noisy signal as we head down the road. All right, let me get into your 10-day, where we got 40s today, 60s next couple of days. Again, you really won't be able to enjoy these 60s until Thursday, and even by that point, we'll be able to enjoy 70 on Friday. Although Friday does look to be mostly cloudy, could even get a couple sprinkles. That's why the rain chance is on there. So Friday, it's like a mix. It'll feel good, but it may not look great. Saturday actually looks nice, breezy, but 70s. We tend to overachieve in this scenario. So I got 73 in, but we could probably end up at 76, close to that. Wouldn't surprise me. Then we'll get into the multiple low pressures next week, and we'll just have to trend and see how they all evolve. And it's too early again. I think we'll have to deal with the warmer side of one or two of these first, which will come at a price in terms of thunderstorms. Some could be strong. And then we'll deal with the after effect. I'm sure it'll be a rain to snow set up with one of them later in the week. That will then lead to perhaps another wintry one right in behind it. But that's where we get at that point. We're into Thanksgiving week, so it's pretty far out. But you got to have patience. This is how the pattern works. It's all just a step down process. So we'll be talking about it every day for the next several days here and just fine tuning and see how the storyline evolves. Always fun and exciting to see if the data is right, if the pattern signals are right, or are they off? And if they were off, why were they off? And that's what we try to figure out. All right, I'm gonna leave it at that. Pretty self-explanatory today, guys. Try to stay warm outside. I will see you guys coming up on midday at 11 a.m. Take care, everybody.